Thank you. I'm not used to being in the round. I usually have the players all on one side, so I can see them all. So apologies if I can't see some of you at some stage. But one of the reasons why I'm here today is my club doctor, Ricky, over there, who's Raj's brother, said, can you come and do a talk for us? I said, yeah, no problem. And then they said it's about organisational culture. I went, oh dear. But then Tony sent me some stuff through, I read about it, and I'd also gone to Brentford 3-4 years ago now, and we had six points that we felt would get us promoted to the Premier League. And one of them was culture, which I was in charge of. There was also recruitment, style of play, other things. So I feel like I know quite a little bit about culture, and it wasn't until I went to Brentford that I looked back at my time at Walsall and how we built a culture at Walsall. But at the time, it was just probably to us building an environment. And Ricky was there at the time. There was a disenchantment between the supporters at the time and the owner at Walsall. And I think you've heard that there was a relegation, we were fighting relegation at the time when I took over. I'd previously been an assistant coach or an assistant manager to Martin Ling at Leyton Orient, and we both got sacked. So I've been through that process of getting fired as well. So when I went back to Walsall, I went back as a head of youth, which I was quite happy with, quite a safe job, no dangers of getting fired, looking after my family, which was the most important thing to me. And then my good friend, who was the then manager, Chris Hutchins, who had actually brought me back to the club, ended up getting fired. The chairman rang me up and said, would like you to take the team? And I said, I thought you would. And he said, well, why is that? I said, well, I'm the only coach left at the club. So I kind of ended up in a role that I probably didn't want, because I'd gone from being an assistant manager, got sacked, and it hurt, and thought I quite like being in the safe role now. But then done a few games for them, really enjoyed it, and from the day I took it, I actually didn't want it. And I worked very hard, thinking, I don't want the job, but I'm going to give it my best shot. But in the end, I think it just took over me and I ended up taking it. But I'll fast forward now. So we stayed up that season by goal difference on the last game of the season, playing Southampton away. We cut the budget by £200,000. The following year, we stayed up by 7 points, I think it was. We cut the budget by 200 grand. And I went to see the chairman after and said, this budget now just saves relegation. I said, you know, there's League 2 teams now, we was in League 1 at the time, and we would be the bottom third of League 2 in terms of budget. I said, so what are you trying to create at your football club? And he went, well, what do you think we should create? I said, it's your football club, it's not mine. I said, I need to know what you want to do with the football club. He said, have you got any ideas? I said, well, actually, yes, I have. I said, I lived in London for 12 years. And if I asked anybody in London about Walsall Football Club, they would say, oh, that's the one we pass on the M6. They wouldn't know anything else about the football club. I said, so we now have an opportunity to change the perception of Walsall Football Club. He said, you've got me. I said, okay. He said, how can we do it? I said, well, how do you want your team to look? And he went, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you've owned factories, you're a successful businessman. How? He went, I want people to work hard, I want people to respect each other, and I want a team that plays good attacking football. I said, okay, that's good, because that fits with how I want to do it. So we can work together now on a process in making this football club good again and getting the fans involved. I said, there's another thing, we can also increase the value of our players. I said, beforehand, if we had a good player who played in the team, we would then, somebody would come in and offer us 25 grand and we would sell it. I said, but now we need to learn how to say no. Because if we say no, we can actually grow them and our value in them players can grow. He said, would you present this to the board? I said, yeah, no problem. So I presented it to the board. So I like to see people learn and grow. That's part of who I am, the way I've been brought up. And I thought it was a great opportunity to get young players who were at Walsall, because a third of the squad had come through the academy. But it wasn't just about creating players to play football. I wanted to help them become better people as well, because everybody's different, and you learn that as you go through. I'm a man who goes by my experiences and learns from them. Everybody asks about the coaches that I've learned from. I've probably learned from what I didn't like more than what I liked. I probably thought, well, a manager does that, but I'm not going to do that because I didn't like it. So that's how I kind of learned and brought in that experience. So we worked big time on building a culture at Walsall. But it wasn't called culture, it was the environment. And there's one story that I'll tell you that for me knew we was on the right track, because whether I'm at Walsall, Brentford, Aston Villa, and people ask me about culture, because there can be good culture and bad culture. For me, if somebody comes into our training ground, they should hear it, see it, feel it, whenever they come in. And it should be good feelings, good sounds, good sights. So whenever they come in, that's what I ask the players to show. Every day you're working hard, every day you're getting better. So there was one player who, when I first met him, he was in my youth team, and he'd done something on the train, so I gave him a warning letter straight away. And he'd done something else the following week, so I gave him another warning letter. And then one day he walks in and he's got a sausage sandwich. So straight away took it off him, shared it between me and my staff, and then pulled the lad in and said, "Listen, what are you doing?" And then he explained to me, he said, "Well, I live at my auntie's. My mum and dad are separated. I feel like I can't ask them for breakfast because they have to feed their kids as well. So that was the only thing I could get." And it struck a chord with me. He's different. He's different to what I am. He's different to what some of the other lads are. But I need to help him get better. I need to make him a better footballer. Hopefully, see where he goes. 1 year later, I'll fast forward, we sold him for 1.2 million, I think it was. But it wasn't the fact that we sold him that I knew he's got a chance. We was in the canteen the one day, and somebody dropped some paper on the floor. And as he walked past, he stopped, picked it up and put it in the bin. Then I knew we got a chance. Then I knew he got a chance. And what we've been doing, all the work we've been doing with him, listen, he's still a rascal, still phones me up now, but he's got a chance because he's starting to understand, for me, what it takes to be a professional. So that story, going back to Walsall, sums up for me how we created that culture. And it was all the players in the dressing room, it was all the staff, it was the board, but it has to start from there. They've got to want it because they're the only ones who can. And when I went to Brentford, when I went to Aston Villa, my interviews was, I said to them, "Why do you want me?" I asked them, "Why do you want me?" Because if it doesn't fit, then we can walk now. And I was quite happy to walk if it didn't fit. Everybody in here probably knows that Aston Villa was my club growing up, but I've been asked earlier, it wasn't a no-brainer for me, because it had to be right. The culture, how we want to grow the football club, because no different to Walsall, there was a disenchantment with the supporters and the football club. And that had to come together. The only way you can do it is from the top all the way down. And it fitted. I sat in with Christian Perslow, Jesus Garcia, and a phone chat with Nazef and Wes, the owners, and they are everything about education, learning, progressing, getting better. That's all they want to do. They want everybody at the football club to get better. So I'll just go on quickly. I was asked for 10 minutes, but I know I'll go over 10 minutes. I'm sorry. Recruitment and retention. One of the key things to having a good culture at the football club. any business in my eyes. So when you recruit, in my work, you recruit good players. But there have to be good players because you wouldn't bring them in anyway. So on top of that, and you've probably heard from a lot of my media stuff that I talk about, they've got to be good personalities, they've got to be good characters. Because if they're not, they won't be part of what we're doing to grow. So they have to have a growth mindset. People with fixed mindsets, no good, because they won't change. And we have to make sure that these people change. We have to make sure that they grow, they learn, and become better people. The hardest part is retaining them. Because they end up growing so far that they end up leaving you. And I've sold many players at Warsaw, they got better. But my job is not just to retain them, it's actually to let them fly as well. They've got to go and fly and become as good as they can. And nothing would give me more pleasure than seeing them players go on and become, top players in the world. It harms me because they're leaving my football club. But it's not right to retain people who have gone on. But can you retain your staff? Another key thing. Again, I won't stop anybody. If my assistant, it was JT, came to me and said, Gaffer, I've got, a job in the Premier League. Go for it. And that would be my advice. If it's right, go for it. I'd say make sure it's right first. Make sure they've got a plan. Make sure they've got a strategy. But go for it. Because otherwise, I'm holding him back. And that's not what my role is. My role is to make the whole place better. And if people see how you're respecting other people within your staff, then they will start working harder and harder, and they buy into it, and it just becomes a union. And I'm just talking about dressing rooms here. I've got a lot of you're all business people who've probably all done this yourselves. So the respect, recruitment, retention, recruit the right people, good characters, good personalities, growth mindset is key. And I like to meet every player. Every player I like to meet. The art of anything in terms of business communication. And the communication doesn't just have to be oral. Just a nod to a player lets him know that he's done well. Sometimes I will go to the training ground or go onto the training pitches and I will let JT and Richard take it and just observe. Because if I'm in the middle of it, I don't know what's going on behind me. So sometimes it's good just for me to observe what is going on. And I like to do that every now and again. I like to get my hands dirty and coach, but I talk to players. I talk to staff. Very open door policy. I allow my people. I've got into a football club now that's got a lot of staff, but I let them do the jobs because they're good at the jobs. So they don't need me doing their jobs. So I let Ricky be a doctor. I let the physios be a physio. I let the coaches go and coach. I let the recruitment staff come and tell me what good players they've seen. Yes, I'll be part of this decision making, but I have to encompass the whole football club, have a more holistic view of what everything is. And one of the key things in communication is I will always be honest with people. So one of my pet hates as a player, and I go back to being a player, if I was getting left out, the only time you'd know was when the team sheet went up. So sometimes I wouldn't even know why I wasn't playing. So I make sure, and I'll have to do it tomorrow, anybody I leave out from the team the previous week, I will call them into my office, sit down face to face, I'm changing the team, you're not playing, this is the reason why. I might be wrong, but that's my opinion. All you can now do is go out on the football pitch, work harder, and show me what I'm missing. That's the only thing you can do to change my opinion, because that's all it is, an opinion. But I make sure I do that in the office with them so they know. That's just a small part of the communication. But staff members as well, we will have a morning meeting. Ricky will come into our office, coaching staff, right, this is what we're doing today, these are the numbers we've got. Anybody thoughts on training? And somebody might say, well, I'm not sure about doing that because it's, it might be a bit too much in their legs for the game Saturday. Right, okay, I'll take that on board. Sometimes I'll go, okay, we won't do it. Sometimes I go, yeah, we'll do it. But that for me is part of the communication. Keep the routes open for people to talk to you. And the last point, just on culture, and as I said, I think it comes from the top. One of the things that I always said, when I become a manager, I want to be a manager who I would have wanted to be managed by. So, I think Brian Little said exactly the same thing in terms of, I won't ask any of my players or staff to do anything I'm not prepared to do myself. And I know you've all heard that before. Easy to say it, harder to do it, but you must do it. If you want the respect of your employees, if you want the respect of your staff, your players, you have to do that. And sometimes it's hard, but you do it. We all believe, or I know what my values are. I know what I stand for. And I'm quite comfortable in saying no to somebody. Or yes, even. I'm very open in terms of understanding what I want. So when we do our club values, we've spoken in pre-season, we've got all the players together, and you've all done this in your businesses. Right, what are the 3 words that you want to stand by? If anybody looks at this football club now, what do you want? And then it's down to the players to come up with it and the staff. We got the kitchen staff in, we got everybody in. This is our football club. When somebody looks at us, these are the words that we want to see being carried out live every day. They're not words, because we've all been there. You can have the words honesty, trust, but what are the 3 words that really stand out to you? Ours was togetherness, because you probably only say the word. I think we got promoted last season partly because the group, and I mean the staff and the players, were like that, but also the supporters got like that as well. And the atmosphere in and around, people came to Villa Park knowing they were going to get beat. I went to Villa Park knowing we was going to win. We were at Wembley having a coffee at 7:30 on the morning of the game, and I knew we was going to win. I knew we was going to win because I'd seen videos of Derby, of what their players were doing in Portugal, and I just knew that we were better than them. So the players knew that. They went out, executed the plan, and if we played Derby 100 times at a neutral venue, we would win 95 times. And I told the players that. So the players were actually comfortable and they went out and executed the plan. So it was quite a simple thing to do. But the togetherness was a real key part of it. The other is prepared. One of the things we pride ourselves on, being organised, being prepared for anything. You could be down to 10 men, you could be playing against 10 men. You have to be prepared for anything. Whether it's on the football pitch or off the football pitch. Be prepared. So to the players, that can mean, right, I need to be professional. I need to be eating right food. I need to make sure I'm getting up at 8 o'clock. I need to make sure I'm getting 8 hours sleep. Whatever it is, make sure you're prepared. Then we had a discussion about the last one, but we went with the players, fearless, which I quite liked because I'm a little bit of a gambler in terms of football. I go out to win every game. There's a lot of teams that will go out to try not to lose. There's a big difference between the two. So they were our values at Aston Villa. And I was quite happy that the players were involved in choosing them. Because there's lots of words that you can have. At Brentford, one of the ones that they wanted was honesty. And I vetoed it a little bit. I said, if you're going to have honesty, then you've got to have tact next to it. And I just spoke to Tony about it, because you can't expect me to be honest with my players all the time. Because if I don't think he's a good player, I can't tell him I need him to play. So there has to be a little bit of tact. So you have to think very clearly about these values. Make sure you can live them. Because If it is honesty, then I'm going to have to be honest to people who I need to play football for me to get results. So think about the values very carefully when you're creating your culture, because the value system for me is a really important one, and everybody has to buy into it. I've gone on a little bit. I hope that's enough.
That's more than enough.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.